Assalomu alaykum. Yana bir bor barchangizga bugun ko'radigan mavzumiz listening part 3 mavzusi. 13 Cambridge IELTS kitobidan oldim. Ko'pincha siz qiynaladigan savol turlari, ikkita savol turi haqida gapirib o'taman. Birinchisi multiple choice, 3-partda ancha qiyin savol turi hisoblanadi va ikkinchi savol turimiz bu matching savol turi. Experience, ya'ni tajribamdan kelib chiqib aytaman. Bu ikkalasidan ko'pchilik B1, B2 o'rnidagi o'quvchilar qiynalishadi. Mana shu savollarga javob topganingiz sizda 5,5 dan 6,5, 7,5 darajaga chiqish imkoniyatini beradi. Shu uchun ham e'tibor bering va yaxshilab qanday bu savol turi analiz qilinadi va listening qilayotganda nimalarga e'tibor berish kerakligi haqida ma'lumotlar beraman qo'limdan kelgancha. Xo'p, birinchi savol turimiz bu multiple choice. Bu degani ABC variantlik degani. Mavzumiz presentation on nanotechnology. Demak, nanotexnologiya mavzusida prezentatsiya bo'lar ekan va bu prezentatsiya Hope Russ says that his difficulty in planning the presentation is due to. E'tibor bering. Qanaqadir qiyinchilik haqida gapiradi. Due to. Prezentatsiyani plan qilishdagi qiyinchiligi sababi kerak. Demak, lack of knowledge, bilim yetishmasligi, uncertainty, biror narsadan ikkilanayotgani va short time, qisqa vaqt qolganligi. Uchalasidan bittasi uchun muammo bo'lishi kerak. Keyin, demak, Ross bilan tutor agree qiladi. Demak, ikkalasi suhbatlashish kerak. Suhbatdan ular oxirgi natijani aytish kerak. Approach will be. Kelajakda uni demak, yondashuv, prezentatsiyaga bo'lgan yondashuv qanday bo'lishi haqida o'qituvchi bilan kelishib olish kerak. Xo'p, demak, nanotechnology is used one field. Bitta sohada ishlatilishi haqida gapirish mumkin. To follow the chronology, demak, xronologik rivojlanishni follow qilish haqida gap ketishi mumkin yoki range of applications, bir nechta imkoniyatlar, nanotexnologiyani bir nechta imkoniyatlarni ko'rsatish deb aytadi. Xo'p, keyingisi 23. Slayd bilan bog'liq holatda Rossga tutori, ya'ni o'qituvchisi nimanidir advice qiladi. Demak, slayd bilan birga, ya'ni slayd bilan bog'liq bo'lgan narsa bo'yicha, slayd uchun nimadir deyish kerak. Xo'p, suhbatlashish kerak ekan. That he can find slides to illustrate. Talk about things that he can find slides to illustrate. Xo'p, look for slides to illustrate the points. Demak, look for slides. Consider omitting slides altogether. Demak, omitting slides altogether. Bir umuman tashlab yuborish haqida gap ketyapti bu yerda. Demak, illustratsiya qilishi mumkin bo'lgan slaydlarni topish haqida gaplashish haqida gap ketyapti. They both agree that. Ikkalasi ham yana agree savoli ekan. The best way for Ross to start his presentation. Demak, starting a presentation haqida gap ketyapti. To encourage the audience to talk. Demak, audience bilan ishlash. Ross intends explain qilish kerak, nima qilishini va example bilan ta'minlash kerak. Xo'p, what does the tutor advise Ross to do next while preparing his presentation? Xo'p, tutor advice qilyapti. while preparing. Tayyorgarlik ko'rayotganda next keyin nima qilishi kerakligini advice qiladi. Xo'p. Summarize qilish kerak main pointni. Bundan tashqari read notes he has already made. List the topics, demak listing the topics bo'ldi. Endi 26 dan 30 gacha o'tamiz. Bu turdagi savolimiz matching hisoblanadi. 26 dan 30 gacha. Bu yerda aspects of Rust previous presentation, demak Rust'ni oldingi prezentatsiyasini aspektlari, yana qanaqa xususiyatlarga ega ekanligi haqida gap ketadi. Xo'p, keyin u yerda strukturasi, ko'z bilan muloqot, tana harakatlari, so'z tanlashdagi va handoutlar haqida ketma-ketlikda ketadi. Buni ko'rib chiqishingiz shart emas, lekin bilib qo'ygan yaxshi. Asosiy narsa mana bu yerda o'sha conclusion yo'qligi, useful in the future deyapti, kelajakda, enough emas, distracting, showed originality, original chiqdi deb aytadi, covered wide range va not technical, texnik emas, ya'ni oddiy so'zlardan iborat degan so'zlar bor. Xo'p, mayli, bitta muammoingiz bo'ladi bu yerda, mana shu so'zlarni tarjima qilishda. Masalan, originality, distracting yoki technical, range degan so'zlarni balkim topishda qiynalarsiz, lekin umuman olganda osonroq hisoblanadi. Xo'p, demak sizlar bilan listingni o'zini boshlaymiz. Xo'p, hozir 5 minutda topib olay. Demak, IELTS 13, test 2, part 3.
Section 2. You will hear a manager. Section 3.
Boshladik.
You will hear a student called Russ consulting his tutor about a presentation he is preparing on nanotechnology, the study of materials on an extremely small scale. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25.
Ozgina o'tkazaman. Demak, boshladik.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Come in, Russ. Thank you. Now, you wanted to consult me about your class presentation on nanotechnology. You were due to give it next week, aren't you?
That's right, and I'm really struggling. I chose the topic because I didn't know much about it and wanted to learn more. But now I've read so much about it, in a way there's too much to say. I could talk for much longer than the 20 minutes I've been allocated. Should I assume the other students don't know much and give them a kind of general introduction? Or should I try and make them share my fascination with a particular aspect?
You could do either, but you'll need to have it clear in your own mind.
Then I think I'll give an overview.
Okay. Now, one way of approaching this is to work through developments in chronological order. On the other hand, you could talk about the numerous ways that nanotechnology is being applied.
You mean things like thin films on camera displays to make them water repellent and additives to make motorcycle helmets stronger and lighter?
Exactly. Or another way would be to focus on its impact in one particular area, say medicine or space exploration.
That would make it easier to focus. Perhaps I should do that.
I think that would be a good idea.
Right. How important is it to include slides in the presentation?
They aren't essential by any means. And there's a danger of tailoring what you say to fit whatever slides you can find. While it can be good to include slides, you could end up spending too long looking for suitable ones. You might find it better to leave them out.
I see. Another thing I was wondering about was how to start. I know presentations often begin with, first I'm going to talk about this, and then I'll talk about that. But I thought about asking the audience what they know about nanotechnology.
That would be fine if you had an hour or two for the presentation, but you might find that you can't do anything with the answers you get, and it simply eats into the short time that's available.
So maybe I should mention a particular way that nanotechnology is used to focus people's attention.
That sounds sensible.
What do you think I should do next? I really have to plan the presentation today and tomorrow.
Well, initially, I think you should ignore all the notes you've made, take a small piece of paper and write a single short sentence that ties together the whole presentation. It can be something as simple as, nanotechnology is already improving our lives. Then start planning the content around that. You can always modify that sentence later if you need to.
Okay.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30.
Hamma javoblar aytilib o'tildi. Sterilkani ko'rsatgan joyimda sezdingiz menimcha. Lekin oxirida baribir bitta javob tanlanadi. Xo'p, endi 26-savoldan 30-savolgacha yana matching savoliga o'tamiz. Strukturasi, eye contact, body language, choice of word, handoutlar haqida gap ketganda, mana bu so'zlarni ishlatilmaydi, aytib qo'yay oldindan.
Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Parafraza ishlatiladi bu yerda. Demak, boshlaymiz.
Okay, now let's think about actually giving the presentation. You've only given one before, if I remember correctly, about an experiment you'd been involved in.
That's right. It was pretty rubbish.
Let's say it was better in some respects than in others. With regard to the structure, I felt that you ended rather abruptly, without rounding it off. Be careful not to do that in next week's presentation.
Okay.
And you made very little eye contact with the audience because you were looking down at your notes most of the time. You need to be looking at the audience and only occasionally glancing at your notes. Your body language was a little odd. Every time you showed a slide, you turned your back on the audience so you could look at it. You should have been looking at your laptop. And you kept scratching your head, so I found myself wondering when you were next going to do that, instead of listening to what you were saying.
Oh dear. What did you think of the language? I knew that not everyone was familiar with the subject, so I tried to make it as simple as I could.
Yes, that came across. You used a few words that are specific to the field, but you always explained what they meant, so the audience wouldn't have had any difficulty understanding.
Uh-huh.
I must say, the handouts you prepared were well thought out. They were a good summary of your presentation, which people would have been able to refer to later on, so well done on that.
Thank you.
Well, I hope that helps you with next week's presentation.
Yes, it will. Thanks a lot.
I'll look forward to seeing a big improvement then.
Xo'p, shu bilan
That is the end of section 3.
tugatdik ilmimizda. E'tibor bering. Men A dan G gacha key pointlarni yaxshilab ko'rib chiqdim. Conclusion haqida yoki future haqida enough, distracting, originality, wide range, not technical. Xo'p, bularni birortasini ham eshitmadingiz. Nimada? Listening davomida. Lekin bu yerda eng asosiysi siz parafraza qila olishingiz. Parafraza degani aynan ushbu so'zlarni ifodalovchi qandaydir gap beriladi. E'tibor bering, A dan G gacha men listening vaqtimda nima qilganim yo'q, e'tibor berganim yo'q. Men struktura haqida gapirganda nimani nazarda tutayotganimni, eye contact haqida gapirganda nimani nazarda tutayotganini, body language da nimani, choice of words da va handouts da nimalarni nazarda tutayotganini e'tibor berdim. Xo'p, bu yerda sizga ozgina qiyin bo'ladi. Nimaga deganda listeningni o'zidan men aytishim mumkin. Bu narsa mana bunday bo'ladi, bu yoqda bunday dedi deb aytishim mumkin, lekin bu yerda illyustratsiya orqali tushuntirib bera olmayman sizga. Nimagaki u yoqda listening o'zida, ya'ni audioni o'zida bor hamma kerakli narsa. Men e'tiborimni bunda audioga qarataman. Bu javoblarga emas, savollarga ham emas, audioga ko'proq e'tiborim ketadi. Agar 100% diqqat desangiz, diqqatingizni 20% mana bu structure, eye contact, body language, choice of words va handoutga o'tayotgan holatlarini tushunish uchun, demak strukturasi haqida gapiryapti. Yoki ko'z ifodasi haqida gap ketyapti, ko'z bilan aloqa qilish haqida gap ketyapti. Yoki tana harakatlari haqida gap ketyapti degan narsalarni u avtomatik o'zi ko'rib chiqishingiz kerak. Ha, bu yoqqa o'tdi, ha, bu yoqqa o'tdi. Ana shu vaqtda ular haqida gapirayotganda nima nazarda tutilayotganini o'ylash kerak. Qarang, deylik mana strukturasi haqida gap ketganda aytyapti, nimadir yetishmadi, summary qilishing kerak, round out qilishing kerak deyapti. Ya'ni umumiylashtirishing kerak. Umumiylashtirish bu conclusionga to'g'ri keladi. Demak, conclusion yo'q, umumiylashtirilgan fikring yo'q deb aytmoqchi. Xo'p, qolgani to'g'ri kelmaydi. Keyingisi eye contact haqida gapirganda, ko'psan deydi, prezentatsiyaga e'tibor berding dedi, audiensiya, ya'ni o'sha auditoriyaga e'tibor berganing yo'q dedi. Demak, ko'proq e'tibor berish ularga degani uchun men not enough'ni belgiladim. Ya'ni yetarli emas, eye contact yetarli emas degan ma'noda nima qildim. Xo'p, useful haqida gapirdim, distracting bo'ladi degani yo'q. Originalligi aytmadi, hech qanaqa qolganiga to'g'ri kelmaydi. Faqat S to'g'ri keladi mantiqiy o'ylab qaralganda. Body language haqida gapirganda, xo'p, boshingni ko'p qashiding deyapti. Demak, bu narsa odamni keyin yana bitta gapi, har zamonda o'ylab qoldim, keyingi safar qachon qashi ekan yana boshini deb o'ylab o'tirdim. Demak, asosiy fikrdan ma'ni chalg'itdi degan ma'noda ishlatilgani uchun distracting something, har doim emas, ba'zan distracting bo'lishi mumkin tana harakati. Shu uchun ham e'tibor berdi-da, demak D javob belgiladim. Choice of words, demak, iloji boricha oson so'zlardan ishlatding dedi. Mavzuga oid kamroq so'z ishlatding. Ishlatgan bo'lsang ham o'sha so'zlarni iloji boricha tushuntirib berding deyapti. Demak, texnik, endi bu yerda technical degani o'sha mavzuga oid so'zlarni ishlatib, uni tushuntirmasa, u juda ham texnicheskiy bo'lib qoladi. Ya'ni texnicheskiy degani o'sha atamalariga boy bo'ladi. Unda tushunmaydigan odam, shu mavzuni tushunmaydigan odam qiynaladi o'sha so'zlarning ma'nosiga yoki nima demoqchiligiga. Bu yoqda aytishicha, o'sha texnik so'zlardan ishlatgan, lekin o'shalarni hattoki o'sha tushuntirib bergan, to'liqligini aytgani uchun not too technical degan so'z ishlatib, juda ham texnik emas, demak, yaxshi demoqchi. Va oxirgisi handoutlar haqida gapirdi. Handoutlar yaxshi dedi, zo'r tayyorlangan, tushunarli dedi va bu narsa kelajakda senga foydali bo'ladi. Keyinroq ularga tomoshabinlar uchun, tomoshabinlar debman. Auditoriya uchun foydali bo'ldi, keyinroq, later on degan so'z ishlatdi. Later on degan so'zga qarab men future degan qarorga keldim. Xo'p, bu yerda qolgani to'g'ri keladimi? Conclusion chiqib ketdi, not enough chiqib ketdi, distracting chiqib ketdi. Menga faqatgina A, F, B qoldi. Showed originality, originallikni ko'rsatdi. Yo'q, unaqa gap ketgan yo'q. Har xil narsalardan foydalanilgan degan gap aytgani yo'q. Shuning uchun ham kelajak degan gapni eshitganim uchun, later on degan so'zni eshitganim uchun B javobni belgiladim. Tepaga qaraymiz. Xo'p, Russning aytishicha, boshida to'g'ri lack of knowledge bor dedi, lekin keyinchalik shunchalik ko'p o'qiganimdan keyin qaysi biri haqida gapirishni bilmadim, qaysini tanlay dedi. Short time haqida gapirmadi, faqat bittagina joyda 20 minut, 40 minut ichida gapirib o'tishim kerak degan joyini eshitdim, lekin vaqt yetadi yoki yetmaydi degan haqida gapirgani yo'q, shuning uchun ham B javob belgilandi. Ikkinchisida Ross and his teacher agree that the approach to the presentation will be. Xo'p, birinchisi xronologik ketma-ketlikda dedi, faqat yigit, ya'ni Ross ozgina shu yoqda gapirib ketdi. Undan keyin har xil applicationlar haqida o'qituvchisi bu yerda maslahat berdi. Har xil applicationlardan foydalanganligini, texnologiyani har xil holatlarda qo'llanilganligi, qanaqadir kaska haqida gap ketdi, helmet, yana nimadirlar haqida gap ketdi. O'sha narsa haqida qilsak-chi dedi. ozgina yoqqanday bo'ldi, lekin bitta field meditsinada yoki qanaqadir sohada ishlatilishi haqida gapirsak-chi deganda ikkalasi ham fikr bir joydan chiqdi va shuni tanlashdi. Shuning uchun ham men ham A javobni tanladim. Keyin 23. Slayd bilan bog'liq bo'lgan rastga o'qituvchisi advice qilyapti, ya'ni maslahat beryapti. Mana bu A haqida unchalik eshitmadim. Looking for slides haqida ham gapirdi-yu, negativ ma'no berdi. Demak, bu ham to'g'ri kelmaydi, lekin leave them out. It's better to leave them out. Ya'ni ularni tashlab yuborgan ma'qul. Kerak emas slaydlar demoqchi bo'ldi. Shu uchun ham C ni tanladim. Demak, omitting degan tashlab yuborish degani butunlay kerak emas degani uchun shuni tanladim. Xo'p, keyin 24. Both agree. Qarang, ikkalasi ham fikrga qo'shilishi kerak edi. Start presentation. Xo'p, Rozni gapi bo'yicha audiensiya bilan gaplashish kerak boshida dedi, lekin ularni encourage qilish kerak deganlar haqida gapirgani yo'q. Xo'p, keyin mana shunga o'xshagan narsani eshitganday bo'ldim, lekin aniq bunaqa gap gapirilgani yo'q, lekin nima uchun nanotexnologiyani boshlaganini bitta misol orqali aytib ketishing kerak degani uchun men C ni tanladim. Demak, misol haqida gap ketdi. Bitta applicationni olasan, o'shani birinchi tushuntirib ketasan va o'sha orqali o'zingni prezentatsiyangni boshlaysan deb aytdim. Xo'p, 25. What does the tutor advise Ross to do next while preparing? Demak, keyin nima qilishni Ross so'radi va tutor aytishicha read the notes already. Demak, read note haqida gap ketmadi. Topic list qil dedi-yu, lekin topiklarni demadi. A ni belgiladim, chunki main pointlaringni oldi, hammasini umumiylashtirib bitta gap qil deb, hattoki misol sifatida mana shunday deb aytsang bo'ladi deb bitta gaplik nomlanishni ham aytib ketdi. Shu uchun ham A ni belgilab qo'ydim. Xo'p, to'g'ri. Tan olaman, bunday savol turi anchayin qiyin. Sizdan katta parafraza, ya'ni lug'at boyligi va tushuncha, to'liq tilni olib keta olish, tushuna olish qobiliyati bo'lishi kerak. Umid qilamanki, qayta shu 3-part savollariga e'tibor bersangiz, listeningda ko'proq qilsangiz va qo'shimcha listeninglar bajarsangiz, aynan shu topiklarda, ya'ni akademik topikda har xil podkastlar yoki videolar bor Telegramda yoki YouTube'larda, o'shalardan ko'proq ko'rsangiz, bu yoqda umumiy tushuncha, ya'ni general tushuncha sizga ko'proq asqotadi. O'zim men uchun bu narsa oson deb ayta olmayman, lekin yetarlicha osonlik qiladi, chunki menda o'sha general knowledge mavjud. Bemalol o'sha approachni qo'ya olaman. Ya'ni qaysi javob bo'lyapti, qaysi haqida gapiryapti, qaysini ma'qulladi yoki qaysini ma'qullamadi, o'sha narsalarga qarab javob berib ketaman men. Xo'p, buguncha yetadi. Agar bu video sizlarga ozgina bo'lsa ham yordam bergan bo'lsa, juda ham xursand bo'lardim. Keyingi videolarda qolgan savol turlarini birinchi section, ikkinchi section haqida yoki 4-section haqida biroz ma'lumotlar berib o'taman. Hozircha xayr, salomat bo'ling. Yangi videolarda ko'rishguncha.